Recording. So, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's session. Tonight's session, we are going to use our 40 minutes or so for our light characteristics. This is an interesting session, probably not normally taught as an individual session, if I'm honest, just from it not being the most interesting of sessions, I would say. But yeah, just to take you through some basic light characteristics. So perhaps next time you're looking at your charts, you can understand a little bit more about what you're looking at, and particularly if you're out sailing at night, which right now from a UK perspective is pretty difficult not to. So our objectives, then, we're going to look at what the light colours are. Some of these might surprise you. You may not be aware of some of the colours that we can actually have. Also the abbreviations. So what am I expecting to see on the chart? The different types of lights. Some chart symbols then and the light characteristics. We'll have a quick look at those. And as ever, there is a quiz. So what I have managed to do is get a quiz on the end. So you'll need your pens and papers ready to have a look at the quiz questions that we've got right at the end. They will take into account everything that we have done today, and should be a little bit of fun, because there's no point learning all this stuff about lights if you can't recognize the lights. There's no point just being able to recognize them on a chart. You actually need to be able to recognize what they look like at night. Okay. So here's a couple of pictures just to start off with. Like I say, this was an advanced course that we ran a few weeks ago for a couple of the guys who work up in the port, just to give you an idea of the types of lights. So we've got a nice little lighthouse on the end here. We've got a major light. This is actually a sectored light. We're looking at the green sector of this particular light, but as you can see, it's quite important that we can work out what the lights are, because there's an awful lot going on if you're looking at going into somewhere with as much background lighting as this. Okay, so it's also about being able to understand what you're looking for and how that fits into the picture that you've got in the background lighting as well. Okay, so we're going to start off then with some pretty simple stuff. We're just going to start off with the different colors of lights. Okay, so there's only so many colors that we can actually have, but a couple might surprise you. So we can have our white lights, red lights, green lights, blue lights, violet lights. You've got to go quite a long way to try and find some violet lights. So if any of you think you know where there's a couple of violet lights, I'll be interested to see you pop it in the chat. I'll put a picture up in just a second. And some yellow lights. And so some of these lights we would traditionally associate with buoyage. So white lights for cardinal buoys, red for port cans, green for starboard cones, yellow for special marks. But there are some other ways that they are used, particularly when we look at some of the aids to navigation rather than just some of the buoyage. Okay, so what do the abbreviations look like on the chart? Because they tend to be written in abbreviations rather than written in full like they are here. W for white, R for red, G for green, fairly simple, VU for blue, VI for violet, and Y for yellow. Okay, so if I put these charts up here, these are a mixture of a whole bunch of charts. So I've got sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different charts in here. You'll see that what we've got is a whole heap of different abbreviations. Okay, so some of them relatively simple. We've got the tail patch buoy here, which is one of our starboard laterals, which is a quick green. We've got our Newcomb buoy here, which is one of the, these aren't opposite each other, these are two separate charts. We've got our Newcomb buoy here flashing 3 red. We've got some major lights where our star is indicating a major light. We've also got some fixed lights, and then, like I say, when you look at somewhere like Portbury and Avonmouth, we have many lights. Okay, in fact, I think there's pretty much everything here apart from a couple. So if you're out light spotting, it's definitely one of the places to go. Okay, this was actually sent to me by a colleague. Last time I ran this session, I didn't have any violet lights, and I didn't know where any violet lights were, and there was a question, where do you find violet lights? And we've had to go to Cherbourg to find violet lights. This seemed to be, I think the debate on our Way Instructors Facebook page was, where are there some violet lights? I'm not sure whether they're still there or not, but certainly this is an extract from the chart where you can see that there are 2 violet lights here, one fixed violet on the inside here and one fixed violet on the outside there. But we had to go quite some, because this is pretty good looking, just to even find those. Okay, so what do they all mean then? Well, let's break them down into some simple simple fashion. Okay, so let's start with the simple ones. Okay, fixed and flashing. All right, so our fixed lights then come in a range of colors. You can have some fixed yellows. I haven't put those up, but we've got fixed whites, fixed reds, fixed greens, and fixed blues. The fixed reds and the fixed greens we tend to find on the edge of jetties or on bridges where they will be either horizontal or vertical, where there may be 2 or 3 of them. So in this instance here on the Wye bridge here, this is the bridge going over the River Wye. What we've got is 2 fixed blues horizontal. So you would see one blue next to another blue. Okay. If we look somewhere then, this is an extract from Milford Haven then, where we've got a very large port with lots of jetties that stick out into the main haven. What you can see on the end of the jetties here is that we've got 3 fixed reds and they're vertical. So V-E-R-T is vertical, H-O-R horizontal, okay? So it's not the French for green, it is vertical, okay? And you'll see if we take a look at this particular terminal here, we've got 3 fixed reds vertically on the left-hand side here, 3 fixed reds vertically on the right-hand side, so that we could start to see the edges of the jetties. Similarly, then on the other side, where we've got the Valero terminal, we've got 3 fixed greens. So reds on the left, greens on the right, direction of voyage going in that way. Okay, so we can start to see that next time we look at a jetty. I know certainly here in Portishead Marina, we have got a couple of fixed greens and fixed reds on the entrance as we come in, and they will be listed as vertical on the chart, either vertical or horizontal. Okay. So then let's have a look at the flashing. So how can lights flash? And we've got oodles of different lights that can flash, but let's start with some simple stuff. It can flash, okay? We can have group flashing, which is where we put collections of flashes together, okay? We can have composite group flashing, where we have perhaps a group of 2 and then a group of 1, and we can have a long flash. But the thing is, what do they look like, okay? So this is what you would be expecting to see. The black here is the dark, the little white peaks here is when you would see the flash. So if we just start with flashing, we're looking at more dark than we are light. So the light's flashing, and then there's a period of darkness, then flashing, then a period of darkness. And it's a fairly short flash. If we then look at our group flashing, we're actually flashing in a sequence. So this one is a flashing group of 2. So we've got 2 flashes, a period of darkness, and then 2 flashes. When we look at composite group flashing, and most of you would know composite group flashing lights from being preferred channel markers, so flashing 2 plus 1, we're mixing up our flashing and our group. So we've got a group of 2, followed by a group of 1, and then a period of darkness, and then it all starts again, okay? Our long flash then is where we have a much longer flash than our normal flash, and we're looking at a couple of seconds for that. So what does it look like then from an abbreviations perspective? Well, FL is going to give us flashing. Once we start getting a group, we're going to start putting the group in brackets after the FL. When we have our composite group flashing here, where we have 2 plus 1, we have FL brackets 2 plus 1, and this is exactly what we would see on the charts. And where we have a long flash, it is LFL. I always tell my students, it's a bit like a game of catchphrase. Say what you see. FL flashing, LFL, long flashing, okay? Where we've got our long flashing is 2 seconds or longer, but certainly on our flashing, our light is shorter than our dark, okay? So you would see the flash, and then you would see a period of darkness. So we don't just have this type of flashing, because then we can get some faster flashing. So then we start with not just flashing, but quick flashing, very quick flashing, and ultra quick flashing. So when we start looking at quick flashing, very quick and ultra quick, it starts to get a lot busier, okay? And the easiest way to think of these, I think of them as in beats per minute. So our quick flashing here is about 60 beats per minute. So we're looking at it being around about 1 a second. When we move up to our very quick flashing then, we're moving up to 100, 120, so 2 flashes per second. And when we go up to our ultra quick flashing, we're up way up at 240 to 300 beats per minute. Okay, that's a lot of flashing. You're not going to mistake an ultra quick flashing light for anything else, really. And our abbreviations then down the right hand side, because this is how they're going to be written down on the chart. We'll have a Q for quick flashing. It doesn't say QFL, neither does it say VQFL. It just says Q for flashing, VQ for very quick, UQ for ultra quick. Okay, So that's our fixed and our flashing lights. Now we move on to the ones that get a little bit more complicated. And we move on to isophase, occulting, alternating, and our lights that flash Morse code. So let's start with isophase. Okay, this I think is probably one of the easiest ones, okay, because this derives from the Greek, which means the same. So this is equal portions of light and dark. So let's say it's an isophase 2 seconds. It will be off for 1, on for 1, off for 1, on for 1. And that whole sequence will just keep going. And the off is just as long as the on. And it would be abbreviated on the chart as ISO, okay? Then we move on to our occulting. So our occulting then is where our total duration of light is more than the darkness, okay? And this is where the dark intervals, these occultations, usually have the same duration. So a lot of different ways of remembering this one. We think of it a little bit like the occult, the dark side. It almost flashes dark. So the light will be on for a period, it will blink off, and then it will come back on again. And traditionally, just as a little bit of a pub quiz question for you, but traditionally, the picture on the right here actually shows an old-fashioned occulting light, and it's driven by clockwork. So the clockwork mechanism sits in here. This is an old American lighthouse. The clockwork mechanism sits across here, okay? And as the clockwork mechanism turns around, this will lower and it will shut the light off, and then it will raise again. So imagine again, like your watch, it will shut the light off and raise it, and it will simply give you a shorter period of darkness in amongst lots of light. So it comes from the occultations, the dark intervals. So think of it like I say, the occult, if you like, coming from the occult, the dark side. So we're going to see lots of light, not so much dark. Then we have our alternating lights, okay? So this is where they're showing alternating colors. So it's almost similar to our isophase, but our isophase is just one single color. Whereas our alternating lights, AL for alternating, white, red in this case, is going white, then red, then white, then red, okay? And it's just showing them alternately. And what it will do is it will show them for the same duration. So like I say, a little bit like isophase, but actually it's showing different colors, okay? We can have alternating white, red, green. There's all sorts of different patterns we can have. And then the last one, which is probably the most complicated that we have, is the lights that flash a Morse sequence, okay? So a series of different durations. So the dots and the dashes, as we would use for signaling Morse, and they're grouped to represent a Morse code character. So in this case, we've got Morse code K, where we've got dash, dot, dash, period of darkness, and then we start the sequence all over again, okay? So really, that's all the ingredients that you need to be able to understand any of the light characteristics that you're going to see on the chart. So let's take a look at the charts. Let's take a look at a major light. These are fairly local lights to the Bristol Channel. So on the left-hand side here, we've got Caldy Island just off Tenby. We've got our major light. So our major light symbol there is our star. We've got our magenta teardrop showing that it's lit. Here's our major light down here. Okay, we've got Caldy Lighthouse. And what you can see is that this lighthouse is flashing 3. So now we've got that group flashing, white and red. Okay, so we've got a white sector on this side of the island, and then we've got 2 red sectors here. This is showing us a period of 20 seconds. So over that 20-second period, it will flash 3, either white or red. Okay, and the 20 seconds starts at the beginning of the sequence and runs all the way to the beginning of the next sequence. So you might see 3 early flashes and then quite a period of darkness before the sequence starts all over again. Okay. Similarly, then I've got the lighthouse here on Flatholme Island, which is just off Cardiff, so in between Cardiff and Weston. And we've got the lighthouse here. There's my major light with my teardrop to show me that it's lit. This one again is flashing 3, so it's a group flash, so FL3, white and red, and I've got a white sector on the south side of the island here. This is where most of the shipping is coming up. I've got a single white sector here and then 2 red sectors, which in this case, they really don't enter towards the island from these particular areas. Okay, so I've got a white entry here, which is the vessels that come in from Cardiff, and this side where the shipping comes. But what I can see is that this one is 10 seconds, so it's a shorter period than the previous one. So there will be 3 blinks of the light and then the period of darkness. The 10 seconds starts from the first flash and goes all the way to the next flash. Now, interestingly, I've also got some more information that talks here about 65 meters, or my flat home light is 50 meters. So 65 meters or 50 meters from where? Well, the height of the light, the center of the light, is measured from mean high water springs. So I need to understand my tidal heights in order to understand how high that lighthouse is going to be. Particularly if I'm doing a longer journey, I'm looking at using dipping distances to understand at what point I will see that particular light. But here we've got a light that sits 65 meters above mean high water springs, or 50 meters above mean high water springs. These are fairly large lighthouses. I would be expecting really to be able to see them by day sticking up on the island, let alone by night. I've also got the ranges that I can see the light. Now, white light is easier to see than any other color, and these are the nominal ranges. So this assumes normal visibility, and this assumes that I can see the white light from a distance of 13 miles, and I can see the red light from a distance of 9 miles. So in this case, it's giving 13 belonging to the white light and 9 belonging to the red light. So small m for meters above mean high water springs, large M for miles, as in the nominal range, how far away I could see it. And this depends on the brightness of the light. When we take a look at the flat home light, then on the right-hand side, what we can see is that we've got a nominal range there for our white light of 15 nautical miles and 12 nautical miles for our red light there. Okay, so that's just a major light. These are just typical lighthouses that you might see on a headland or on an island, as we've got them here. Then we have some directional light. Okay, so on the left-hand side, I've got this picture showing you the idea of a directional light then is to give you an idea that if you're in the white sector in the center, in this particular instance, you're missing the rocks and the wrecks over here and the rocks and the wrecks in the green. So if I stay in that white sector, and it's almost like someone's put shutters down on the light, if I stay in that white sector, then I am on the right path into wherever I am going to go to. So what's an example of one of these? Well, this is, again, Bristol Channel. This is Newport. This is the East Usk light, okay? This is a double directional light here. So if we take the top piece here, so let me just grab my line here. We take this top piece here and just put a line underneath it, okay? So we've got FL brackets 2, WRG dot 10S, 11M, 11 to 10, big M, okay? So start to decode it. It's a game of saying what you see. So it FL we know is flashing 2, so it is a group flashing light. We're going to expect to see 2 blinks of whatever it is. We've got white, red, green. We've also got 10 seconds, so it's 2 over that period of 10 seconds from the beginning to the beginning of the next series. 11 meters above mean high water spring, so not quite as tall as the last lights that we were looking at, but visible for a nominal range of 11 to 10 miles. And in this instance, the 11 is for the white and the 10 will be for the red and the green. So you can see quite a lot of different lines and lights coming off here. So if we follow the line out, we're looking for flashing 2. And actually, we're looking in these sectors here. So this is a sectored light. So if we were on this side here and we were approaching, we would be seeing 2 red flashing lights. If we were on this side over by the red buoy, we would be seeing 2 green flashing lights. Okay, if we were going up what's pretty much the center of the channel here, we'd be seeing 2 flashing whites. So this says, depending on where you are, you will either see 2 flashing whites, 2 flashing reds, or 2 flashing greens. What's interesting if you're doing some night navigation is if you're looking at trying to pick a spot, it's very easy to know when you go from one sector to the other because you will see the light change from the white sector to the green sector. So you would know to be able to perhaps fix your position somewhere on that line if you were looking to do that. But this also has a secondary light. We've also got a directional light here where we have red, white, and green, okay? And we've got an occulting white, red, and green over a period of 10 seconds, again, 10 meters above mean high water springs, visible for nominal range for the white light at 11, all the way down to 9 miles for this. So actually, if I'm traveling up the channel and I pop myself into, let's say, this spot here, I could have done with being filled in. Let's try that. Let's try this spot here. Realistically, what is the light that I'm going to see? Well, I'm going to see the 2 flashes of the white light. So I'll see the flashing 2, but I'll also be just in the red sector of this occulting light. So I would be seeing a light that was more on than it was off. Again, think dark side, flashing dark. So I'd see lots of red, and then it would blink off, and then it would come back on as red again. I'd also be in a sector to see the flashing 2. Okay, so in this instance, I would definitely be able to work out where along this line I was by figuring out what lights I could see. So let's have a look at a couple more directional lights. Here we've got a little bit further afield. We've gone to Dartmouth and Salcombe. I've picked these ones up from. Relatively simple lights then, again, red, white, green. And let's have a look at what's the light actually giving us. So the light's giving us here, this is the light here. We're looking at the light being a ISO, so equal portions of light and dark. Remember, ISO from the Greek meaning the same. White, red, and green. And this one doesn't have a height, but it is visible out to a nominal range of 8 nautical miles. So if I'm coming into Dartmouth and I want to come straight up the center of this channel here, I would want to try and keep my boat in that white sector. I would be seeing it going white and then off, and then white and then off. Remember, equal portions of light and dark. If I was too far over to the port hand side, I'd be seeing the red. If I was too far over to the starboard side, I would be seeing the green. Similarly, then I've got a slightly different one here, just up in Salcombe. This one tells me it's a directional light. So this one flashing white, red, and green, again, visible out to a nautical range of 8 nautical miles. So as I come in, I've got my red sector, my white sector, and my green sector. And I want to ideally aim up the center of that green sector. Okay. So we've had a quick look at some isophase, we've looked at some flashing, we've talked about occulting, we've talked about Morse. Now it's over to you. So I hope you've got your pens and paper handy. I've got 2 slides to show you. The first one has got 6 different lights on there. And what we're interested in is not just what the light is doing, but also perhaps what that period of time is. So if I looked at that light, what reasonably would I be expecting it to see, to show me on the chart? Okay, so let me just clear my line off here. Okay, so if you're ready, have a look at these. I'll pause the recording and give you a couple of minutes to have a look. Zoom. So let's see how you did. Okay, so I'll pop the answers up. The first one on the left-hand side was a quick flashing light. Okay, this one at the top here was flashing 2 + 1. So it was white flashing 2 + 1 over a period of 15 seconds. We had a very quick light here, a long flash every 10 seconds. So what you would reasonably expect to be on a safe watermark. A flashing green over 5. So this one perhaps would be on a starboard lateral, and then a fixed red light. I guess everybody got that one. That was the quite cool one. So if I just go back one, if I try and get them to come back up again, there we can see them. Okay, so here is our quick flashing. Here we've got our very quick flashing. Here we've got a flashing 2 + 1. This one down at the bottom is a long flash over 10. I'm not sure. Oh, there he is flashing. There we go. And a flashing green over 5, and our fixed red down at the bottom. Okay. Oh, nope, it was the old mechanical light zone. Oh, sorry. Okay, there we go. There's your little pub quiz. Your pub quiz. I thought you were thinking that my little light flashes were amazing. Okay. So these were our flashing and our fixed. Okay, and these were relatively straightforward to understand. Okay. So there we go. I think some of them stop flashing when I do that. I'll leave that up for you. I've got quite, like I say, issues with the internet tonight, so I'm not sure how well they're coming across on Zoom, but we will put the video up again on the YouTube, so you can always have another go. Okay, so that's slide number 1 for your quiz. Slide number 2. Let's have a look at what light characteristics you can see here. So we're interested in the characteristic, we're interested in the color, and we're interested in any time period that we think that this might be over. So have a think, what is it that you think you can see? got to. So let's pop the resume recording up. So let's see how we did. If we go for this top one here is alternating white and red. So it's equal portions of white and red. So it can't be isophase because isophase is a single color. It has to be alternating white and red. Then we've got our ISO red 4 seconds. So this one means that it is on for 2, off for 2. On for 2, off for 2. 4 seconds, remember, is the total time of the entire sequence, and that includes the periods of darkness. Let's do the one at the bottom right here. We've got our occulting red over a period of 6 seconds. So if you wanted to count to 6, you would start counting to 6, and when the light comes on, it will be on for a longish period. It will then go off, and it will come back on again. Okay, so from the starting to flash again, you would be seeing it as an occulting light. Remember, occult is the dark side, if you like. It flashes dark, so it will turn itself off, almost like someone's just walked in front of the light. Then we've got our Morse code one. So top marks if you managed to spot that one. Okay, this is Morse code K. So I showed it to you earlier. It was a dash dot dash, and then it's a period of darkness, and then again a dash dot dash. Okay, Morse code, we'll see Morse code A, perhaps on a safe watermark, or on sort of single point moorings, that kind of thing. But yeah, any kind of Morse code light, most people would probably be getting their Morse code books out to find out what they're actually expecting to see. Okay, so how did we do? Alrighty, so what we're going to look at tonight then, we've had a look at some light colors, we've had a look at the abbreviations that we would expect to see on the charts. We've also looked at the different types of lights, so we've looked at some directional lights, some sectored lights, and we've also had a look at our chart symbols on our light characteristics. Okay, so I'll finish this session up with this. We haven't decided on our session for Tuesday next week, our free session, but it will be something interesting. And we still have a couple of spaces left on our radar workshop, which is running this Saturday, if you would like to join us. So if I stop the share, bear with me. Bye.